Lawrence Welk, television's music man, is made possible in part with funds provided by this public television station, which depends largely on viewer contributions. Please join with your support.
From Hollywood, we bring you the Lawrence Welk Show.
When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle.
A prince on a bridge of a castle motored, lady, oh, lady, oh, lady, ooh.
There's no people like so. People they smile when they are low. Still you wouldn't change it for a second, no. Let's go on with the show. Hey!
I'm Kathy Lennon, one of the Lennon sisters, and I've known Lawrence Welk all my life. He is one of my childhood heroes, and truly one of the unsung heroes in television. Here at the UCLA Film and Television Archives, beside Lucy, Milty, Archie, and Hawkeye, is the man who outlasted them all. 27 years on national television, and I'm not counting reruns. Except for the night after President Kennedy was assassinated. The Lawrence Welk Show was on every Saturday night from 1955 until 1982, in spite of critics who called him corny and old-fashioned, and young reviewers who simply ignored him. The American people paid no attention to that. Millions of viewers kept tuning in, week after week and year after year. It was one of the highest-rated shows that no one was watching. Station managers all across the country agreed nobody loved him but the public. And that was the only thing that mattered. Went on the air in the 50s, America was watching I Love Lucy, Burns and Allen, Ozzie and Harriet, Father Knows Best, and the Honeymooners.
Not you, you dope, it's me!
Dave Garroway started the day, Howdy Doody babysat with the kids, and Steve Allen preceded the test pattern. The legends of television were on weekly. Arthur Godfrey, Jack Benny, Ed Sullivan, Groucho, Gary Moore, and a very young Johnny Carson. The Lawrence Welk Show was a constant in the constantly changing world of television. Today, Lawrence Welk is a retired gentleman in his 80s, dividing his time between his elegant and rapidly expanding resort village in Escondido and his corporate headquarters in Santa Monica.
Thank you very much. See you down there. Very good. Bye-bye.
He still goes to work every day, and with his son Larry, oversees a complex empire of real estate, records, and music publishing.
This one here, huh?
Yeah, this is doing real good. In fact, it's going to go to #1 in R&R this next week.
Really? No, you're not.
He finds time to play a little pool at the table in his office and practice putting on his balcony.
Ah!
But once a month, at the restaurant in his village, Lawrence Welk is in his glory again, entertaining the public he loves so much. They come from all across the country to see him, 500,000 deer. And if they're lucky, there will be a Sunday swing, and they'll get to hear the master himself on the accordion. The show at the Sunday swing still features the tried and true Welk formula. the good old songs and a sprinkling of new ones. Play the melody and play it straight. Popular stars from the Welk show sing and dance in the audience-pleasing style they made so famous. Mr. Welk dances with the ladies in the audience, as he always did, and his fans become starstruck girls once again.
I love you. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you very
much. With the amazing longevity of the Welk and the loyalty of the cast, the American audience got to know the performers very well. And in my case, they watched us grow up. With great pride and just a touch of nostalgia, here is a video album of the Welk musical family. There were the Champagne Ladies, Alice Lawn and Norma Zimmer, often singing with Jim Roberts, who was with Lawrence for over 30 years. With him, too, for the many years were band members featured as performers, like Larry Hooper, 1948, Myron Floren, 1950, Dick Dale, 1951, Aladdin, 1953, and Jack Immel, 1957. My sisters and I joined the musical family in 1955. Can you believe that? And were followed by Irish tenor Joe Feeney. Big Tiny Little was replaced by the vibrant Joanne Castle. And we were thrilled when Lawrence added our favorite Mouseketeer, Bobby Burgess, and his first partner, Barbara Boylan. Duncan tapped into our lives in the mid-60s, and so did Bobby's new partner, Cissy King, and singer Tanya Fallon. Gail Farrell and Mary Lou Metzger, Sally Flynn and Sandy Griffiths added the sparkle. And then came the people that would be with Lawrence into the 80s. Direct from down under, Ken Delo. The first husband and wife team, Guy and Ralna. Anna Connie, lively and Latin. Young and handsome Tom Netherton. Bobby's third partner, Elaine Niverson. Sheila and Sherry, the Aldridge sisters. And the Otwell twins, Roger and David, often teamed with Ava Barber and Jim Turner for a country classic. And through it all, under the guiding hand of George Cates, was the band. And some of them stayed with him for over 35 years. Barney, Henry, Bob, Russ, Kenny, Joe, Johnny, and Charlie, who still play at the Sunday Swing. And there were many more, all very proud to be a part of the Lawrence Welk family. Lawrence Welk stayed on television for 27 years because he knew what people liked. He had spent over 30 years on the road with his band, learning just what kind of music and entertainment made America happy. Photographs of those years of playing one-night stands all across the country are hung in the Welk Museum, and even the old farmhouse is authentically reproduced. That's where he learned to play the organ, and he can't resist trying to pump a bit of music out of it today.
That's all.
Lawrence Welk was born in Strasburg, North Dakota in 1903, the son of German immigrants. Young Lawrence didn't take to farm life, so he made a deal with his father. If he could borrow $400 for a first-class accordion, he would work on the farm until he was 21. Reluctantly, his stern father agreed. On his birthday, Lawrence left home, alone, naive, and speaking no English. He searched relentlessly for work, and then he met George T. Kelly, an Irish showman who invited him to join a vaudeville troupe known as the Peerless Entertainers. Kelly taught him all the show business tricks, while Mrs. Kelly taught him to speak English. When Lawrence put together a small band of his own, he got his first big break, a show on the powerful new radio station. Well, the band began to play everywhere. The band was making a name for itself, but what name? They had been the Hotsy Totsy Boys, the Welk Novelty Band, and the Honolulu Fruit Gum Orchestra. One week in 1938, some letters arrived that said his music sounded bubbly. On the very next broadcast, the announcer introduced the band as Lawrence Welk and his champagne music. Their trademark was born, and everything gelled to fit their unique sound, and new jobs in ballrooms from coast to coast. The big band then, music was everywhere. In ballrooms, on records, in the movies, and even at the neighborhood tavern. That's right, I said the neighborhood tavern, and you thought music videos in bars were a new idea. In 1941, they had soundies, short films made for a visual jukebox, a rather big, clunky jukebox, as you can see. And for a dime, you saw and heard your favorite music. This one still works. And here's one of the many soundies made by Lawrence Welk. By the late 40s, Lawrence had established a top-notch orchestra, but musicians move around, and when his trombone player quit, he discovered Barney Liddell playing in the same hotel.
There was a grand staircase in this hotel, and down comes this character with a red leather top coat and a dark red suit on, suntan, and it was like wintertime, you know. And I thought, who the heck is this? And it was just exuded personality, and I didn't know him from Adam, and it was Lawrence Welk.
After listening to Barney play, he offered the earnest young musician a job.
Well, I told him, I thank you very much, sir, but no thanks. And he jumped a little, and he said, what do you mean, no thanks? I said, well, the band's too corny. And he says, corny? I said, well, commercial. Let's say commercial. And he says, well, yes, we are. That's what made us a success. And I said, I don't like the music. So he wanted me to, and you know, with Lawrence, when he wants something hard enough, he gets it. So the second day he called, and he talked to me about an hour, and I said, well, I like Tommy Dorsey. He says, well, you can play like Tommy Dorsey, and we'll play the corny stuff.
A few years later, the band was surprised when Lawrence hired another accordion player, Myron Florin.
I think at the beginning, the band was kind of leery about what kind of a guy was coming in to play the accordion and so on. But they got over that in a hurry. And a cute story that I remember, Sam Lutz, who was Lawrence's manager all those years and has been my manager all of these years, he was, I think, the most against my joining the band. Because he says, what would people say if Tommy Dorsey hired a trombone player that played better than he did? And he says, Lawrence, he says, they tell me that this young fella plays accordion better. And Lawrence, God bless him, he says, that's the only kind of person I hire. I remember going one-nighters with Lawrence for the first year. I think all except about 2 or 3 weeks were completely one-nighters. And we'd run into many of the other bands, the Guy Lombardo Band, Woody Herman Band, and so on. And I still remember the Guy Lombardo Band coming in, all driving in big, flashy cars and everything. And I think the Woody Herman Band came in the same hotel this particular night, and they were all seedy. They kind of fell off the bus and things like that, you know. So it showed me that maybe playing the melody and so on, like Lawrence wanted to do, was maybe the best idea.
The usual good job.
Mr. Welk was always looking for new talent, and they were always looking for him, like singer-saxophonist Dick Dale, who was working with a group called the Six Fat Dutchmen.
And I got a call one Sunday afternoon right after our broadcast, and he says, "Hello, this is Lawrence Welk." And so I went into Chicago and tried out for the band and was accepted, and I joined the band in Clinton, Iowa in February 9th, 1951, I think it was.
Just give him one chance, please won't you forgive? He'll love you, my dear, as long as he lives. I know it's no use. I hope and I pray the postman goes by, no letter today.
By 1951, Senator Kefauver was getting good ratings, exposing organized crime on television. And slowly but surely, ballrooms were being replaced by drive-in movies and bowling alleys. After an engagement at a San Francisco hotel, Lawrence drove down to the famous old Aragon Ballroom in Santa Monica and was amazed to see a tattered relic of the big band era. Years ago, the manager had hired the Welk Band instead of one of the other big orchestras, so he owed him one. Confidently, the Welk Band moved in. Within weeks, the era live again.
And I was just wondering this evening, anybody here that would like to come up here and lead my band? How about you coming over here? We have a gentleman right here. Would you come over here, please? Come right over here and tell us your name, please.
Al Schmidt.
Al Schmitz. Where are you from, Mr. Schmitz?
Linwood.
Linwood. Boys, put up the Bye Bye Blues. Bye Bye Blues. That's a very easy song. Bye Bye Blues. Okay, you come over here and give the boys a little downbeat, Ryan. Just like this here. That's the idea. Okay, take it over. Okay.
He's out dancing with the audience, and he's getting people up to lead the band and things like that. But I sensed in Lawrence somebody that was dedicated to his audience and somebody who would go a long way, because he would feature everybody in the band. So he had already a group ready-made for TV.
Television was on a great talent hunt, so station KTLA took a look at the hottest show in town. They moved their cameras into the Aragon Ballroom, and the Lawrence Welk television show played in Los Angeles for 4 years, a smashing success for the local Dodge dealers. The National Director of Advertising, Jack Miner, knew what was Goldfornia could be good for sales all across the United States.
So we gave him an opportunity to go on the network. But Mr. Kintner, who was then president of ABC and a marvelous gentleman, was not familiar with Lawrence Welk, looked upon him as strictly an accordion player on the West Coast, and refused to give me the 9 o'clock time slot that I wanted on Saturday night. And I told Bob, we had ABC at that point, was far from the network it is today, and they had maybe 2 or 3 shows. One was that were doing pretty good. Disney was doing well, Danny Thomas, which we happened to own at the Chrysler Corporation, and Burt Parks and Break the Bank and so forth. And I said to Bob, if you don't give me that time slot at 9 o'clock, I'm going to have to cancel those 2 shows. Well, anyway, he went ahead and he gave us a 9 o'clock time slot.
The champagne music of Lawrence. Dodge, the car that says, let's go, presents the music that says, let's dance.
1, 2, and...
And I have to be honest with you, I think the first week we owed Nielsen points. It was pretty low. But as a result of the promotion and so forth and the individuals involved with the organization, and particularly Lawrence himself, the show began to take off. And it wasn't long before I used to receive at the factory in Detroit sacks of mail that big, where people would write in and say, I want this that I just purchased, credited to Myron Florin or to Larry Hooper or to whoever the individual that was their favorite on the show. And of course, since then, you know what has happened to the Welk show for some 25 years, as I recall. I think quite a tribute to the man.
Television had brought an end to the already dying big band era. The American public was changing. They were content to stay home on the weekends and watch big variety shows such as Your Hit Parade, Caesar's Hour, Jimmy Durante, and now The Lawrence Welk Show. The TV audience had a big band sound right in their own living rooms every Saturday night. Contrary to what the critics thought, his music was far from corny. It was vintage swing. Season after season, Lawrence Welk paid tribute to the men who had shared those wonderful years with him. Stay tuned for the late 50s and 60s as American television and all of us grow up.
Gentlemen, 1, 2, and...
I remember that show so well. Pete Fountain playing Farewell Blues. Dixieland was Mr. Welk's favorite kind of music, you know. My sisters and I spent 13 wonderful years with him at the ABC studios. During the week, we'd rehearse at the Aragon Ballroom or at the Hollywood Palladium, and then we'd do the show in front of a live audience without any stops or retakes, and I think you could feel the energy and enthusiasm from coast to coast.
1, 2, and...
It took only a few months for the Lawrence Welk Show to catch America's attention. He became an important part of the world of television entertainment in the 1950s, right along with football, baseball, and wrestling. He was as much a TV star as Hopalong Cassidy, Rogers, Walter Cronkite, Bob Hope, Edward R. Murrow, and Kukla, Fran, and Ollie. Life for Lawrence Welk was very sweet indeed. Welk knew that if he was going to stay on top, he had to add more people to his own troupe of peerless entertainers. It was the era of child stars on TV. David and Ricky, Annette Funicello, Lauren Chapin, and John Provost. So he took a chance on 4 small friends of his own son, Larry. And my sisters and I made our debut on Christmas Eve, 1955, singing He, with an arrangement we copied from the McGuire sisters.
This evening. We have Diane, 16, Peggy, 14, and Kathy, 12, and Janet, 9. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lennon sisters.
He can turn the tide and calm the angry sea.
Before long, he asked us to be regulars on the show, and we were singing fun songs like Zippity-Doo-Dah, and old favorites like Autumn Leaves.
Red and gold.
I guess people have always been interested in showbiz kids, and my sisters and I are no exception. Even though we never really felt like child stars, we're often asked about our glamorous childhood in the spotlight.
Mom and Dad made sure that we had a very normal life. We always went to the same schools. We had the same friends. We knew that we worked every Saturday night, but when it was live, the first 8 years it was live, we did it live from 6 to 7 so that it could go to New York. By 7 o'clock we were done and we could go off and do our thing with our friends. We had just a very normal life, and besides sheltered at home and loved at home, the Welk people all did the same thing to us. The guys in the band were like big brothers. The crew at ABC would always watch their language, would always protect us. So we lived a really as normal a life as a television personality could live.
But there were things about it that were hard. I was the oldest, and we were like, mostly the clothes. When I was around 18 or 19, I was wearing little crinoline skirts and polka dot Swiss dresses. So there are some memories about it. We weren't allowed to grow up very fast.
You're a nice little fellow, I know by your voice, but you're always so far away.
People were eager to know everything about the newly famous Mr. Welk, and his farm boy to television idol success story was perfect for Ralph Edwards' This Is Your Life. He was tricked into thinking he was making a Dodge commercial.
Hello, friends. Certainly a pleasure to be part of the team with you wonderful Plymouth and Dodge dealers.
Hello, Lawrence Welk.
How
Ralph
you
Edwards.
doing?
Good to see you.
Well, Ralph, how are you? Nice to see you.
We haven't shared a spotlight since back at the old Capitol Theater. We played
That's
3 weeks in New York
correct,
City
that's correct.
in the 1940s. Well, we want to do just a half hour together tonight, a half hour that will tell us about one of America's most famous orchestra leaders, Lawrence Welk of Strasburg, North Dakota. Tonight, This Is Your Life, boy.
Everyone got to meet George T. Kelly, who had introduced Lawrence to vaudeville. And they got to meet the vivacious Mrs. Welk, who recalled the flashy young accordion player.
Husband, how did you react to Lawrence at first there, Fern?
I was because I felt musicians are like sailors. They have a girl in every port.
And of course we were there, speaking for the rest of the musical family.
Well, I think we could say it better with music, Mr. Edwards.
Oh, good idea.
Oh, there's much more we could say, but the words keep slipping away, and we're left with only one point of view. Mr. Wonderful, that's you.
With his new celebrity status, Mr. Welk was out on some of our most popular television shows.
Hi, boys. A 1, a 2.
Look at, I can't understand. Now look at, they followed you all the way through. Why wouldn't they follow me?
Well, Jack, you see, they have a certain loyalty to me. After all, we've been together for 30 years.
Well, I know. Well, what's the drummer's name, the one that was loyal to me?
Benedict Arnold.
Mr. Welk continued to add new people to his musical family. A young sailor named Jack Immel had 2 weeks left in the Navy, and he had a dream.
And I had sent Lawrence a recording of some things I had done on the marimba. I was with the Navy band in Washington. So about 2 weeks before I get out of the Navy, I get an answer from him that he's heard my recordings and wants me to play some more for him at the Aragon Ballroom in Santa Monica. So I ballroom and he heard me play, and he says, Jack, we don't have that instrument in the band. He said, would you like to join the band? Well, you know, coming out of the Navy into something like this, you know, I almost dropped dead, you know what I mean? The leap over was just something I had worked up. I ruined about 3 marimbas learning this thing, you know. And that's been quite a few years since I haven't been able to do that. No, I don't do that anymore. If they could get me a marimba about this high, I might be able to do it.
Performance.
I had sent an album in on the accordion, and Lawrence Welk heard it, and I went on as a guest. And I went on one time, it was June of '58. And then I went on again about 6 months later as a guest. Then when Big Tiny Little left, Lawrence called me 2 weeks after he left and asked me to come down and be on his show. And he didn't say it would be a steady job, but he said maybe it'll work out to one. So I only knew 3 or 4 ragtime songs. I wasn't really a ragtime pianist, so I practiced real hard. I went down the first week. And you want to hear the first song I played? Okay, the first song I played was
The Maple Leaf Brag.
Then the following week, he asked me to come back, and I played the Piano Roll Blues. Now, he didn't hire me, but after the show, he said, maybe if you'd like to come back again, we'll see how things work out. So I came back the 3rd week, and I'm saying, well, I'm running out of songs. I may need help here because I don't have this style of songs, that many in my repertoire. But the 3rd week, I did a song that I wrote real fast, put it together, called The Painter's Rag. And after the number, I turned to the camera, and there he was with the Lennon sisters and a cake. I was 20 years old. He announced it on the air. It was my birthday present. And then I cried because I was so happy. I'd been playing in nightclubs since I was 15. And it was to have a steady job, one that you could get acclaimed success real fast, and instead of those terrible nightclubs. And I was hired on the air right then on my 20th birthday, and I was with him over 10 years.
I got my big break in show business with Walt Disney on the Mickey Mouse Club. Back in 1955, I auditioned for a cowboy series that was on the Mickey Mouse Club, and they said, do you sing and dance? And I said, that's mainly what I do. They had 5,000 kids that auditioned for that show. They only did 3 seasons, believe it or not. And it was a great experience. It's still on the Disney Channel every day. I'm 13 years old again. I got a break on the Lawrence Welk Show with Barbara Boylan, my first dancing partner. We had danced together since we were 12 years old. And we went down to the Aragon Ballroom, and we entered a dance contest Mr. Welk had created to Calcutta, the big hit of 1961 that he had. And we won the contest, and our prize was an appearance on the show. After every show, Barbara and I would go into Mr. Welk's office and say, by the way, we can do an English quick step or a tango next week. And he'd say, fine, come back, let's try that. And it went on for like month after month, for 6 months. And finally he said we were regulars on the air, which was a nice surprise, especially because you don't find steady jobs for 21 years on national TV for a dance team.
Our charming lady of song, lovely Norma Simmer, sings the all-time favorite, Always. Come in, Norma.
Thank you. I'll be loving you always.
Mr. Welk said, well, Norma, do you have an entire song you could do? And I remember I was so nervous and so scared and had a hard time to keep my knees from shaking. I was completely surprised when he wanted me to become Champagne Lady, because I felt that I wasn't a commercial type singer. I was a soprano. And I thought, well, it isn't anything like the other girls that he has had singing. And I argued with myself about being called Champagne Lady. And finally he told me that it was the effervescent music, the bubbling personality, the happy personality. And so I accepted, and I've been very grateful that I did.
The first network television Champagne Lady was Alice Lawn, a big band singer in the old style, sweet but a little sassy, and it was a high spot every week when she danced with Lawrence, her crinolines flying. When Alice left the show, the fan magazines and newspapers jumped on the story. The press pinned it on coats, saying that she wanted her skirts shorter, and like any good father, Lawrence objected. When he went back home to North Dakota, everyone wanted to know the real story.
Mr. Welk, I'd have a question. I've been reading about you and Alice Long, and I've always wondered just what happened between you and Alice Long.
Goodbye.
Well, I'll answer this very shortly. Nothing. Alice wasn't completely happy with our orchestra, and we knew this, and she had explained to us several times before that she thought she was leaving the band. And may I tell you that she was one of the nicest girls that has ever sung with our orchestra. We thoroughly enjoyed little Alice. She was a good singer. She handled herself very much the way a Champagne Lady should handle herself. She looked just right, and she acted exactly right.
You know you got the brand of kisses that I die for. You know you made me love you.
Mr. Welk didn't replace Alice for 2 years. They stayed in touch until her death in 1981. After a long struggle with cancer.
Greetings, friends, and how do you do? So happy that you could drop by. Here beneath this blanket of blue, thing is new, and here's why.
In 1965, we said hello to Living Color. Our first show was shot on location. and Mr. Welk couldn't resist a short plug for his new resort.
From our musical host, and then we'll get on with the show.
Yes, friends, you'll notice that the setting is new. We're bringing you the show from our Country Club mobile home estates near the town of Escondido, California. We think the climate is the finest, the scenery the prettiest, and the people here are just about the nicest of anywhere in the world.
Out here in this wonderful land, we're ready and raring to go. We know it's time for the fun to begin. So now, let's get on with the show.
And then we began to say goodbye to some old friends. As in all families, the children began to move out.
I decided that I would give Lawrence 5 weeks' notice, and I did. I went to him, and I want to tell you, when I gave my notice, I thought at first that he was kind of cold, and I said, okay, but he turned back to me, and he teared in his eyes, and it was the most emotional thing in 10 years I ever saw Lawrence Welk do to me. And I really thought for a minute, he really does like me, and really down deep, because he always kept a wall, because he's the boss. And, you know, it was hard to get too close. I never tried, but it was obvious that, you know, you couldn't get too close. But this was the first time he cried, and he teared, and I never forgot that.
There were a lot of reasons why we ended up leaving. One was that we were all getting older, getting married, and starting our families. We wanted to spend more time with our families, and we knew that if we did nightclubs 10, 12 weeks a year, we could make the amount of money we needed without having to work 52 weeks a year on them. The other was that music was really changing, and we wanted to expand. It was the end of the 60s when the Beatles, and there was all sorts of good music that we really wanted to try and really wanted to do. We wanted to wear sophisticated clothes and be more glamorous. And they were all things that Mr. Welk felt weren't quite appropriate for his show.
Sweet and low, sweet and low, wind of the western sea.
February 24th, 1968 was our last Lawrence Welk show, but at the time, we didn't know it. We had compromised with Mr. Welk by appearing once a month, but it just didn't work. We were his children, babies he had raised. He couldn't understand how we could leave him after all he had done for us, so he just ended it. And you know, it was the right thing to do. It would have hurt too much to say goodbye to everyone.
While my pretty one, while my little one, while my pretty one sleeps.
Not long after, our dad was shot to death by a mentally deranged fan, a man who was obsessed with wanting to marry one of us. The late 60s were a tough time for us, and a hard time for America, too. The Vietnam War was a grim reality, live and in color on our TV screens, and sometimes the war took place right in our own hometowns. It wasn't chic to be pro-America in those days, but Lawrence Welk knew what his audience wanted. So he programmed that was kind of a reverse protest, a musical affirmation that America was still the best place to live. It turned out to be the most popular show in their 27-year history. They called it Thank You, America.
Bell of freedom, bell of freedom. And when the roll is counted and each patriot stands review, please God be I remembered, though it's with the numbers few. My prayer shall be for mankind, yes, no matter who they be. For prayer will set them free. Keep the bell of freedom ringing. Keep the bell of freedom ringing. Keep the bell of freedom ringing till all mankind is free. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah.
Stay tuned for more memories, much more music, and a musical family reunion. For over 40 years, the Aragon Ballroom hovered over the ocean down there. A huge hulk of a building on the famous old Lick Pier, all gone now except for rotted pilings and water-smooth rocks. When it was destroyed by fire in 1970, it was almost an omen of the changes coming in the Lawrence Welk. His band had played there for so many years, you could almost hear them that night. One of the last spirits of the big band era had gone to glory.
Well, I was trying to figure out a little while ago, looking over the place here, where the bandstand was, and I can't quite figure it out the way it looks here this morning. It's quite sad to see this here. It's pretty sad because we have such wonderful memories of this place here. We made so many friends here, and the place did so much for us.
In March of 1971, Mr. Welk received a call from a New York reporter who told him that ABC had just released the list of shows for the new fall season, and the Welk show wasn't on it. So he got the news that he'd been canceled after 16 years. He was 68 years old, and he had 200 people who depended on him for work. It was a devastating blow. The network said his audience was just too old and that they needed to appeal to a younger generation of viewers. This was no surprise to him, of course. He'd had some fun with that very idea on The Lucy Show.
Mr. Welk?
Yes?
There are a couple of teenagers outside.
Are they picketing?
No!
Are they hostile?
No, they seem like nice kids. And they say they're very big fans of yours.
Teenagers, big fans of mine? Wonderful, wonderful. Don't let them get away. Show them in.
Hello, Mr. Welk.
Oh, thanks for seeing us, Mr. Welk. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. Now what can I do?
Well, you've got to help my mother.
Yes, sir. You got her in trouble.
The adult audience, especially the ladies, loved Lawrence Welk as much as they always had, and he knew it. Over 1 million people had written to complain about his cancellation. 1 million letters meant many millions of viewers out there. Without missing a beat or a single Saturday night, he decided to produce the show himself. Within a few months, 212 stations all across the country were scheduled to carry the new Lawrence Welk show. That was 30 more than ABC had. The musical family went into production on their own, together.
Wherever we go, whatever we do, we're gonna go through it together.
The musical family continued to grow, a perfect blend of old friends and new faces. After so many years of doing the show, they had it down to a science, or should I say, an art.
The Lawrence Welk show was fairly easy to do because we, as a performer, we only usually got to do one number, solo number, and maybe there were 2, 3, as many 4 group numbers to do. And we just would rehearse on a Monday. Well, first of all, on a Thursday, we would go to the recording studio and rehearse all the music, record anything had to be recorded, go through our own numbers and the group numbers, come down on a Monday, try out the costumes thing for maybe an hour or 2, and then Tuesday we'd come in at 9 o'clock in the morning and we'd start rehearsing at 10 and go all day long, do a 5:30 rehearsal, dress rehearsal with an audience, and that audience would leave and we'd have a dinner break, come back, and do the show from 8 to 9 with another audience.
I feel a song coming on. It's a melody full of the laughter of children out after the rain. Hear a tuneful story.
The Lawrence Welk show was probably one of the very few shows on television that was shot like it was a live performance. No stops for anything. If somebody dropped dead, you just shoot high.
Let those heavenly drums go on drumming, 'cause I feel a song coming on.
Most of the time on the Lawrence Welk show, we had themes where he would say, now this is going to be a salute to the Indianapolis 500. So, you know, you'd have to go research or find something that would fit in the groove with that particular theme, and that kind of kept it fresh for us.
Every week there was a theme for the show, and a song would be picked by the production staff that they thought you could do, and you were just assigned a song. But somehow, when we first started on that show, when they would assign us a song, we would say, that really doesn't fit us. And we would come up with an alternative that fit the theme. And after doing that a few times, they would take the theme, and then they would come ask us to say, find a song.
Yeah.
So
at first, we would actually go into Lawrence's office and play it.
Yeah.
The guy would play his guitar, and we would sing it for him. Because the people around him really couldn't make those decisions. And so we learned to go directly to the boss.
I can't stop loving you, so I made up my mind. The memory of a lonesome time.
I would say the most popular songs that Ron and I did on the show were, of course, the love songs. We were, oddly enough, this was 1970 when we started on the Lawrence Welk Show. We were the first husband and wife team he'd ever had.
I can't stop wanting you. It's useless to say, so I'll just live my life in dreams of yesterday.
The man who has really done wonders with our band, our musical George Case, conducting a medley of songs from the great Broadway show, Carousel.
When we started the program, my expertise was being up in a booth and making sure there was a good sound on the orchestra, which most programs didn't care about. The producers and directors, they were interested in doing their own little things, see this scene pretty, walk them out here, the lights here, but the music, no one cared about. It was secondary. That's why music never sound television. My expertise was working up in the booth. And I set up the band, not the way other people set up the band, so it sounded well, that when a violin played, you heard it. Lawrence Welk always had great faith in two people. Me for the music, Jim Hobson as producer-director. And for the entire run on network television, Jim was the only director, and I the only musical director.
I think he had input in terms of all of the numbers, and I kind of got the feeling there at one point that if I'd clog or something very, very slow and easy, that I got the feeling that I was almost stealing. He liked the peppy numbers, and the faster the better. He liked to hear a lot of clicks on the floor.
Because Lawrence Welk was known as someone who gave young performers a chance, he was pursued wherever he went. Sheila and Sherry Aldridge found him playing in Nashville. They waited at the stage door and actually pulled at his coattails until he gave them an audition. The Otwell twins come from Tulia in Texas. A relative Lawrence an audition tape, he liked it and sent for them. Anna Connie and her mother met Lawrence accidentally on purpose in his Escondido restaurant. She got an audition right on the spot. Young talent would perform at his resort village and then graduate to his show. Even when the stage got crowded, it was hard for Mr. Welk to turn away a talented newcomer.
I think one of the biggest things the Lawrence Welk Show has ever done, and I've been in show business a long time, I have never heard such screams in my life, is the girl named Janice, who came up in the polka segment. We had a polka segment, we'd be on the road, and he'd call the audience.
This girl is too wild for me. Bobby, you dance with her.
Invariably, people would always ask us after every show, was that girl part of your show? Was she a plant? And we'd say, would we do that to you? And Lawrence was smart enough to know that that thing really worked. It's an old type of comedy, but it really worked.
Through the years, the Welk musical family had been a real-life soap opera for the audience. Bobby Burgess had married Myron's daughter. My sister Peggy had married trumpet player Dick Cathcart. Sherry Aldridge teamed up with band member Bob Davis. Mary Lou Metzger settled down with Richard Maloof. And there were many others. Pregnant bodies were hidden, but babies were celebrated. Viewers suffered with us through Larry Hooper's long illness, brave comebacks, and his death. But times change, and the audiences drifted to the high-power soap operas of Dallas and Dynasty, and sitcoms like Three's Company, Alice, and Happy Days. It was over. The last show was taped on February 20, 1982, directed by Jim Hobson, as he had for all those years. They did all the audience favorites. Norma and Jim sang Whispering Hope.
Hope with a gentle persuasion whispers her comforting word.
Myron played Lady of Spain for the last time. Bobby and Elaine did Calcutta, his first number for Lawrence. Jack and Mary Lou reprised The Days of Old Vaudeville. The last song, of course, was Irvin's double-edged anthem to the joys of show business.
There's no people like show people, they smile when they are low. Even with a turkey that you know will blow, you may be stranded out in the cold. Still you wouldn't change it for a set of gold. Let's go on with the show.
The Lennon sisters have traveled back and forth all over this country for the past 30 years. And I wish we had a nickel for everyone who said, I used to watch you on the Lawrence Welk Show with my folks every week. With my folks. That's what's important. And it's probably the reason the Welk Show lasted for 27 years. It was a family show. The people on it were old friends, and it was filled with the songs America loves. It had all the ingredients that make a television program wear well over the years. What has lasted even longer than the show itself is the closeness of the musical family. Once a year, Mr. Welk treats them to an old-fashioned reunion picnic. They fly in from all over the country, arranging their tour schedules so they won't miss it. Old friends and intertwined families catch up with one another. But most of all, they come to see the man who was both boss and father, Lawrence Welk.
Like Lawrence would say, if we can please the mothers and the families and the audience and so on, we're going to be on for a long time.
We always used to say if he wanted to run for president of the United States, he would have gotten enough votes.
They always said he was like our musical father, and he did like to get involved with your personal life.
He wanted us to see him as a father because he did look after us a lot.
I believe Mr. Welk was so popular through the years because of what he was doing, because he loved his audience.
And he made it possible, for all of us. I say it's been a wonderful thing. It's been quite a life. So I got to say thank you, Lawrence.
Good night, sleep tight, and pleasant dreams to you. Here's a wish and a prayer that every dream comes true. And now till we meet again, adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen. Good night.
Thank you all so very, very much. What an audience.